To British Columbia in Canada now, and Global Affairs Analyst Michael Bociurkiw. He's also the former spokesman for the Organisation for Security and Cooperation in Europe. Michael, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you. Good to be with you.
Okay, big problem for Trudeau, if he wants to put this scandal behind him, is that he cannot definitively say if there are more images of him out there, in this racist makeup, this blackface. Here he is explaining, the problem he's facing.
I am wary of being definitive about this because the recent pictures that came out, I had not remembered. And I think the question is, how can you not remember that? The fact is, I didn't understand how hurtful this is to people who live with discrimination every single day.
Okay, so to that last point, among the subjects he taught was drama, which seems to suggest, he should have at least had some awareness of the history of blackface in Canada, which is just as racist, just as offensive as it is in the United States.
Absolutely. I mean, he was a drama teacher, and especially that video, it shows him being kind of foolish and playful. But, I must say, John, it's not every day that you wake up as a Canadian and you see images flashed around the world of your prime minister dressed up in such an offensive type of way. As I wrote in my CNN op-ed piece today, is that had you asked me yesterday what kind of chances the Liberals had in the October 21st election, I would say that they probably were headed for a minority government. But after today, even though this isn't that big of a deal in vote-rich Quebec, I'd say in this neck-and-neck race, because of what happened, because of the gravity, they could very well be headed for the opposition benches. It's a huge fall in popularity and grace from where he was a few years ago.
It really is. It really is his worst nightmare, in so many different ways. And even before this scandal sort of broke, the opposition had been running these campaign ads against him, sort of accusing Trudeau of being less than authentic. Have a look.
Questions are now being raised about his competence and judgment. In response, he's again lashing out and threatening lawsuits against his critics. Justin Trudeau, he's not who you thought he was. He's not as advertised.
And this controversy just seemed to play into all of that perfectly. Essentially, say he's a public champion for diversity and acceptance when he's in front of the cameras, but behind closed doors, he's out there wearing blackface.
Yeah, well, as that ad indicates, it's a very toxic campaign. And, John, I have to point out that it's actually, I think, the Trudeau Liberal war room that started these kind of attack ads. What they've actually done is collected a treasure trove of very damaging social media posts of opponents. And day after day after day, especially targeting the Conservatives, their main opponents, saying that this guy is racist and this guy is homophobic. And it's actually resulted in candidates resigning. Now, had what happened to Trudeau overnight happened to a regular candidate, including from the Liberal Party, I think that candidate would have very well been packing their bags today, because it seems that Trudeau still has this untouchability about him. But for other candidates, this would have been extremely, extremely grave.
Well, Conservative commentators around the world, Christmas came a little early this week. Australia's Herald Sun newspaper, the Conservative columnist Andrew Bolt wrote this: Canada's Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, is the clown prince of woke. The sanctimonious preacher declared racists don't get to define who we are as a country, yet now admits he himself was racist for posing in blackface. How we laugh to see the woke revolution now eating its own. Over at the Fox News channel here in the United States, there was also unbridled joy. Here he is. This is Tucker Carlson.
Like your brother-in-law with the ponytail, Trudeau brags about being a feminist. Use the wrong word in his presence and he'll launch into a self-righteous lecture. Justin Trudeau may be the most sanctimonious head of state on planet Earth. So of course he was leading a secret life as a racist. That's why he's so sanctimonious.
Let's assume for a moment that Trudeau actually does survive this, and maybe he's returned with a minority government. Regardless, he returns, I guess, as a prime minister significantly weakened. Also significantly weakened on the world stage as well.
Oh, absolutely. We've been the subject of a lot of ridicule today, I think, and especially Trudeau. John, I think what happened earlier on is that the Trudeau machine, if you will, got very high on a lot of that international coverage that you pointed to, cover of Vanity Fair, that sort of thing. So they paid a lot of attention to his image being properly molded overseas, but not as much here. the big question that happened here is especially what happened in the United States earlier this year with the Virginia governor and his dark face allegation is, if you saw what's happening, if you saw where trends are going, why didn't you come out with this earlier? Why didn't you inoculate yourself, come out with these revelations and say, this happened a few years ago and it shouldn't have happened and I'm sorry. Instead, he kept it to himself. And this is why a lot of Canadians are asking themselves, who is this man? Can we trust him? And what else is actually hiding behind that facade?
Yeah, this is not over yet, not by a long shot. Michael, thanks for being with us. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Now to a CNN